Hey, welcome back to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. In our chess club on Lichess, some people suggested that we are getting a lot of really cool old historical documentary films of some of the former world champions playing chess against each other as it was videoed back in the 1960s and 50s. Really spectacular, if nothing else, for historical interest. This one game by Mikhail Botvinnik and Max Euwe in 1963 is spectacular. I want to show it to you. Botvinnik is the white and Euwe is playing the black pieces. They played this blindfold. The cool thing is they actually showed them playing the game while they were playing. They were sitting at a table separate, and then a great big display board was off to the side facing away from them. And the commentator, while they were calling out their moves and the commentator was making the moves, he was talking about the game, man. He drove me crazy. If I'd have been one of those guys, I'd have told him, "Shut up, I gotta think!" And it was all done in German. That even made it more spectacular. So what I want to do is show you this game. This is a tremendous game. I am just... It's mind-boggling that they did this blindfolded. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I seem to be crowding out the chessboard, and that's what you want to see, not my ugly mug. There we go. That's a little better. There we go. That's a little better. Yeah, there you go. You can still see the pieces, and if you can't fake it, they played blindfold. You can too. Just kidding. Calm down. I will call the plays out loud. So we do a d4 and a knight to f6. Botvinnik plays c4, so this is the queen gambit. Queen pawn opening, whatever you want to call it. Knight c3 and bishop b4. Now they're calling out the plays as he's putting them out. Neither one of them are looking at the board. And this is so spectacular. It's really fun to actually see it. I watched one with Magnus Carlsen where he played 3 different opponents all at one time, all blindfold. He was blindfold. They weren't. That was spectacular too. But neither one of these guys get to see the board. So we have a c5 push here, hitting the center. This is so typical of Grandmaster play, arguing for the center. Definitely knight f3, and now b6 giving support, building up the queen side as well. And Botvinnik puts the bishop to d3. Euwe being ketos his bishop to b7, hitting that long, beautiful diagonal. They've got to keep all of this and the nuances in mind while they're playing. It's really interesting. Fun to watch, man. Was really, really cool. They both castle, and now Botvinnik is going to go knight a4. He wants to do some queenside work, and Euwe is on to him. He's going to cover his bases. Botvinnik hits the bishop. Euwe does not let the bishop be taken. He comes back to a5. At this point, they played d takes and b takes c5. So that this is the position of the board at this time. But I want to show you something else that could have happened. No, they didn't play it, but there's another option for each player. If white could have went d5 instead, then e takes d5, c takes d5, bishop takes d5, knight, let me put those down, knight to, where's my knight? Bishop takes d5, knight to g5, bishop bumps back to b7, and what this does is it enables black a secure possession of that diagonal. So that was one possible variation that they could have had. And instead, as I said, the play actually continued with D taking the c5, and then Euwe took it with the b pawn. But what would have happened, and I did this too, I did this quick variation, what would have happened if Euwe would have pushed his pawn instead of retaking the pawn? Then C would have taken b5, queen to d8, knight to d2, bishop, where are you, bishop, to c7, and knight comes to c4, and white would have been dominating the center more or less. Seems to me like white has a better control of the center than black does at this point. Although it's pretty even, but it still gave black that dominating diagonal, which could play a huge part in this game. So that's just a couple different variations they could have played. Let's keep going and see what they did play. So black responded by b takes c5, and knight then took c5, and it helped Botvinnik to get his knight off the edge of the board there. And then queen takes, whoops, did I put the queen at the wrong spot? I did. Sorry, queen was here. I forgot to replace her. Queen had moved here. Then the queen takes the knight. And now b4. He hits with another queenside thrust. And instead of this, what I did, let's look at a different way that Botvinnik could have approached this that might have been very interesting. Had he gone to knight d4 here, and then bishop b6, backing up the queen in a battery, and then bishop d2, so that he's got both of his bishops developed in the center, and then had he bumped up d6, bishop c3, knight to d7, queen to e2, knight to e5, knight to b3, and then queen to c6, black, it appears to me, has some serious kingside attack potential had he gone this route. With the two knights here hitting into here, and the battery with the queen in front of the bishop, there's your checkmate square. It just seems to me at this point, white would literally be forced to push the F. And then you could get some really interesting knight sacrifices going, couldn't you? You could see the attack could be on very easy by just simply taking the pawn. Yeah? Very interesting. And then from there, it goes forward, you know, the rook. I don't know if you'd want to retake it with the pawn or not, or the rook, because then you could double up your rooks real quick. I would think I would want to take it with the rook, and that's probably the wrong move. That's why I'm not a grandmaster, so I lost 300 rating points. But I'm telling you, doubling those rooks, that could be extremely valuable. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm probably wrong in my home-cooked and home-baked analysis, but that's part of the fun of chess, is exploring different options. So hang on, and I'll take you back to the main line. So after the queen took the knight, Botvinnik pushed the b4, hitting the fork with the queen and the bishop. Interestingly, Euwe ignored that fork for the moment, and he went, Beow! Black takes f3, takes the knight at f3, and perhaps he's going to crack this king side open, because he's got potential sources to get into a good kingside attack, doesn't he? However, the queen here is how he retook. You do, really, truly, again, I've said this before, but it's worth repeating, I promise, especially for those of you who are new subscribers to my videos. taking it with the pawn disrupts the kingside pawns. And that opens you to all kinds of problems. For instance, the queen over here, check, and then you're starting to dodge. He's got the initiative full blown if you respond by taking it with the pawn. Instead, taking it with the king keeps that shelter perfect. There are no weaknesses in the pawns if none of them are advanced. Every square in front of the king, because of the pawns, is covered. And so that's why he retook with the queen. I know, a simple basic exercise, but it's worth repeating and keeping it in mind. If you can exchange that way, that is how you want to do it. See, we still have 2 rooks, we still have 2 knights, we still have a bishop, we still have a queen. We're very well in the middle game. There's a lot of power packing around on this board, so it is best to keep the protection on the king. Just worth a quick repeat. Euwe went queen e5. Good, powerful central move. Bishop, or no, B I mean, sorry. B took a5. Botvinnik took his bishop, and Euwe took the rook. Blam, targets. You can see they're hitting targets. And Botvinnik turned around and did the same thing. Targets. Not a lot of open file work in this game, but there's a lot of targets and argument for the center in this blindfold game of chess, which is always fun to see. At this point, queen bumps back out to c3, target. Target. Although it is guarded with the rook, but here's your target right here. Very nice. And Botvinnik went bishop to e2. He bumped the bishop down out of danger, but there's another consideration that could have been, he could have brought the rook over. I've got that rook d1 as consideration. Yeah, rook d1 is a consideration, and this is just my tinkering with this, having fun exploring this wonderful game by these former world champions. Had he done rook d1, a continuation would have been knight c6, of course, hitting the queen. Target, also developing a knight, a good move. Queen would come to b7, of course, and then queen can take a5, and queen can come to b5, considering exchanging the queens, but I don't know if you'd want to or not. It would, were he to change the queens, it would put the pawns back together and give a majority on that side. So white would want to force the exchange of queens. I would think it would strengthen his queenside pawn structure a bit. And so black has that option of just bumping the queen down to here for now and keeping the eye on the king side. I don't think I'd swap queens myself, personally. I wouldn't want to. You're playing Botvinnik out, of course, and you're playing Euwe. So either one of these guys can pull this game out at the drop of a pin. They were both that fabulous. Really good players, so. Anyway, that's just an idea. Let me keep going. So Botvinnik moves the bishop down to e2, and the knight comes out to c6, and then Botvinnik puts his queen to b7, of course, because the development of the knight hits the queen with the rook, and now Euwe put the target in his sights. Go after the queen, absolutely. And so Botvinnik simply bumps her over. No real bad danger yet. And now queen to c2. Euwe is trying to close in again, hitting a target. That's great chess. Another option that I've got here is from this point, queen takes a5 and swap the queens. What that would have done is eliminate some of the queenside pawns that was going to give Euwe really bad indigestion in the endgame, right? Swap the queens and the pawn, and then control the pawns with your rook. That was an option. He would have captured a pawn. Instead, he does come to c2, hitting the target, so there's nothing. Well, another consideration, not yet, but in a moment. At this point, he bumps the bishop up to f3, of course, out of danger, not a big deal. And then Euwe goes h5. Now, another idea, just to give you a little bit of a different nuance here. Now that the bishop is not guarding the pawn majority, yeah, these are doubled pawns, that's true, but that isolated pawn, the majority of pawns with that isolated pawn, Botvinnik could get in, so queen taking that pawn could have been another consideration for Euwe to think about. Rather than that, though, he did push h5. He's going to come toward the king here. Oh, I've got... Black could also take... Queen c4 and then knight f... Yeah, if he took the pawn and then the bishop comes to d2, then the knight to d5... And that looks pretty strong for black also. So that was also another possibility of dominating the center. Didn't quite work out that way though. And that's okay. The way they're playing this, they're having fun. Now where was I before I was lying? Bishop takes c6. Where is c6? Now here Botvinnik does exchange the knight. Putting those knights in the center, like I was showing you, in a possible variation, would have been poignant for black to do, right? So Botvinnik probably recognized that and decided, you know what, yeah, I've got the bishop pair, but I don't want him to have those knight pairs. I'm willing to make it a bishop versus the knight is what he's really doing. And then rook all the way down to b1. Target. Now here's where Euwe probably surprises Botvinnik a little bit. Well, surprises isn't the right word. Nobody surprised Botvinnik. He was that good. But this is very strong. This is quite nice. Really, truly. Now things were heating up. And in fact, the bishop does come back down. Since he didn't exchange... reacting to him taking his knight by taking the bishop and coming down here and hitting a very powerful target. Notice who's got the 7th and the 8th rank. Yeah, Botvinnik is on the 7th so far, but Euwe, yeah, he might lose that pawn, which could be dangerous in the endgame. But Euwe's got his 7th rank somewhat under control. It's not loose. Well, it's not loose any more than Botvinnik's. But the pin here on the bishop, on the 7th and 8th, that, I think it was at this point, let's take a quick look. Had Euwe reacted to Botvinnik taking the knight, one, he would have broke up his pawns a little bit more. But that position is not nearly... Well, I mean, he couldn't do that. Yeah, the queen would have just taken the rook. Yeah, that's why he didn't do it. Of course. Duh. Yeah, he brought his bishop back. Yeah, Euwe couldn't have retaken the bishop, so it was a free knight. Yeah, now look at it closely, you dork. Yeah, idiot. But... this move gives a completely different shade of meaning onto this game. That was an exquisitely nice move by the Dutchman, man. That was awesome. Bishop f3 comes back to f3, and now, yeah, take the target. Rook takes c1, fundamentally. Powerful 7th and 8th rank occupation Man, that wins games. I'm just saying, really, that wins games. This is really a good, it's so good that Botvinnik realizes I have to now open up an escape hatch for the king. In other words, Euwe, with this move, took over the initiative. Well, with these last two moves, has taken over the initiative, and Botvinnik must respond to what Euwe is doing. Euwe has the initiative. Real beautiful here. And he continues to try to press that initiative with the attack, knight to g4. A great move. And I've got, let me show this too. I was tinkering around with this, and black could also, at this point, black could go ahead and pull the trigger and take the rook. Rook take f1, and then of course the king is going to, whoops, I'll just drop those. King is going to take f1, and now if he brought the king to h7, and c5, and a6, stopping those pawns there, and then queen to b6 was another option. Halting the forward pawns, he's got to guard this pawn carefully. Euwe is behind the pawn, which is where he needs to be. It's not a passed pawn yet, but the kings are safe. They're not. There's not going to be any back rank checkmates going on at this point. So, just another one of the many very interesting ideas that could have played out in this game. So, we see Euwe trying to come down here on the attack. Bishop will take the knight, however. Of course, that makes perfect sense, right? And now the rook goes ahead and takes f1 check. He's got the dominating 8th and 7th ranks. That's a good motion right there. Of course, the king will take the rook, not move out of check. You must take that rook, and now h takes g4. So here comes Euwe. He's trying to crack the king side open, but he can't quite crack it open enough. That's okay. Queen takes a7 here, getting rid of a pawn, and Botvinnik has the edge for the endgame. In fact, Botvinnik has the endgame in the bag if Euwe doesn't come up with something. Sincerely, those queenside pawns, there is virtually nothing stopping them. Those are 3 passed pawns, and the queens are still on the board. So Euwe's got to put something together, and here's what he finds. Queen d1 check, and the king goes to g2, and now Euwe goes queen f3 check, and king comes back down. And then Euwe goes queen d1 check, and so it's a draw by perpetual check. 2 outstanding world champions playing blindfold chess together gives us a wonderful game to look, enjoy, but Euwe got the moral victory. In my opinion, getting the draw, Euwe really did nice, because those pawns are going to go in. Botvinnik outplayed Euwe. And I mean nothing disrespectful about Euwe. I mean, he did beat Alekin for the world championship. And then he turned around and regave Alekin a chance and lost it. That's something Alekin did not do with Capablanca. There was no love lost between Alekin and Capablanca. Euwe was a much more sporting, gentleman, fair, turnabout type of a world champion. He was a good guy. Here, he pulled out a loss to get the half a point of a draw, which is exquisite. It's just, that is so Euwe. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this game. I had a blast watching it. If you can, come to our chess club, the BYP chess fan club on Lichess. And it's in the forum, and it's on Chess Enthusiasts Must See This. And there are several different old videos of the world champions play. So there's Alekin and Euwe and Botvinnik, this one, and there's just several old videos. They're just awesome. I don't know where these guys are getting these from, but holy cow, thanks you guys. They're just making our club richer and better and more enjoyable and fun. I mean, you've got an entire week's worth of reading in our forum on various different kinds of chess. It is just spectacular. So anyway, thanks for watching my videos. Hope you got something out of this one. This one was just for pure pleasure and joy and fun and interest, historical, philosophical, moral, and chessical. Hey, did I just invent a new word? Woohoo! Yeah, baby! Alright, yeah, calm down. In the meantime, remember, you're awesome, even when you lose chess games, because every one of us lose, and every one of us win. And that's the way it is. So I'll see you guys in the next Backyard Professor Chess video.